Hey everyone, Sakriyasin here, and in this lesson I'm going to be showing you how to use a painter's wheel like this one or this one in Photoshop, or if you're using Painter, then obviously your color wheel looks like this anyway. Just how to go about using that when painting. So the first question is probably going to be, where can I get these? And on my site in the resources section I've included a link to both of them in here, painter style color wheel for Adobe Photoshop. Now Colorus is $10 I think, and this one, the Len White one, is free, but I think it's by donation, so if you want to donate then you can go ahead and do that. So I think for this one I'm just going to use the Colorus one. And first of all, why is this a triangle when this one is a square? I've been asked this question before, and so I figure I'll just quickly go over that. Okay, so I'm going to put my color picker thing in the lower left corner. So we start with black, right? Then we're going to go up and we go to white. So we went from the darkest value to the lightest value. Now we go from white to the most saturated color. Then we go from the most saturated color to the darkest color again. Then we go from the darkest color to the darkest color. So you see, from here to here there's a big change, going from darkest to lightest, and then least saturated to most saturated, then most saturated to darkest, but there's no change from here to here, from darkest to darkest. So it doesn't really make sense to have this square like that, because there's not a whole lot of change going on in the bottom here. So basically what they've done is they've just taken this darkest and stuck them together, and then it becomes a triangle. So the triangle just makes a little bit more sense, you know? And then what I wanted to talk about is how you go about using this to pick colors. And you could do the same thing with this HSB slider here, or you could do the same thing with this color picker. It doesn't have to be this wheel. I just find this wheel is, the way it's set up is very good for choosing what colors to pick this way. So when I say color, choosing color, I don't mean, you know, just selecting color off here. I'm talking about how to figure out, okay, what color goes where. So the reason I chose this picture, which I'm working on right now for work, is because the colors aren't what they appear to be, and that's the whole point. So for instance, the ear here of this goblin looks fairly red, and I can go ahead and make the ear of this goblin red, I guess, for the demonstration. But this isn't red the way you think of red. So the way you think of red is probably a color like, you know, this for red. This is actually a brown. It's in the orange side. It's towards red, but it's pretty much a brown. Back here, there's some colors that look pretty blue. When we click them, though, we'll see this is actually a green. So colors are only what they are depending on what colors are around them. It's all about relationships. So when you choose colors, you have to ask yourself three things. First thing is you want to choose colors in relation to other colors. So always start with something on the page, some color on the page. And then you want to ask, so, okay, I'm going to do this here and make it more red. So the first thing I want to ask is the color I want warmer or cooler than this color? So warm, for warm colors, you slide towards the reds, oranges, and yellows. So let's say I was at this green, and I wanted to make it warmer, then I'd slide it towards this. If I want to make it cooler, I'd slide it towards blue. So this teal color, this blue, this is all the cool side of things. and this is all the warm side. Now you can start with blue, like this, and get cooler by sliding it towards this, or you could get warmer by sliding it towards the purple. So the coolest color is probably this icy blue color. It's very cool. And cool, I mean like cold, not it's awesome, although it probably is. And then the warmest would be a red-orange is probably as warm as you can get. So if I'm in orange and I want to get cooler, I could slide towards yellow, or I could slide towards red. So that depends on what you want. You have to also ask, is it more green, is it more red? So again, let me pick this color, which is kind of a dull yellow gray, although it appears more green. And I want to make it warmer because I want to make it closer to red. So I'm not going to go to red. I'm going to go warmer. I'm going to go towards red. So again, I'm going to do that. I'm going to go towards red, maybe just by a bit. Then the next thing you want to ask yourself is it lighter or darker? And I think the value is too light, so it's going to be darker. So then I'm going to move towards this black end of the triangle because it's darker. And the next thing you want to ask is it more saturated or is it less saturated? And I want it to be more saturated, so more colorful, in other words. So there, I'm going to pick something like that, and then I'm going to test it. And it's a bit too dark, it's not warm enough, and maybe not saturated enough. So I'm going to go towards a warmer color, lighter, and more saturated. So if I want to get more saturated, I go towards this, the area that's, the most colorful. And I put that down, and I can go warmer still, more saturated and a bit lighter, or maybe less saturated, but a bit lighter. And yeah, see, so that's actually too much, but that's kind of how I go about finding the colors. And then an easy way to tone this down is I could, go over here and adjust things again, but because some of this color is already working, I can kind of pick color that's already there and then go over that and kind of lightly blend the two until I find a mid-tone that's about right. Then I find that, and that's pretty close to what I had anyway. So that's the way you go about finding color. If I wanted to make something blue here, and it's more blue, then I'll just move it towards the cool because I want it more blue. And there's a thing also, is that less saturated is usually more cold. So if I want it more cold, I can move it towards a gray, and then that's going to appear more blue. And then if I want it more lighter, then I can move it up a bit. And there we go. So that's looking pretty blue right now. But it's important to note that it's not blue, it's in just the color, it's green. It's a desaturated, a very desaturated, but it's a desaturated green. So that's why it's not good to think, what color do I want? Oh, I want blue. Because if you think that way, you'll think, okay, what color do I want for this background? Maybe there's like some sky showing through, and you'll think, okay, I want blue. Then you'll pick blue. And oh, a light blue, so you'll go light blue. Then you'll put it down, and it's way too strong. And if you work all the colors this way, you're going to end up with a very immature palette, or an amateur palette. So everything's about relationships. And again, as I mentioned before, if I wanted to do this using just the default thing, I could with the HSB sliders. Just pick the color, and then if I want it warmer, it goes towards this. If I want it cooler, it goes towards that. So I want it cooler, I want it lighter, so then you change the B, which is for brightness, and I want it less saturated. Then I can get that color. And again, same thing here, you know, warmer, cooler is towards here. So if I'm here and I want to get cooler, I go down. If I'm here and I want to get cooler, I go down as well. But if I'm here and I want to get cooler, I go up. So basically it's whatever is closest, and actually this bottom part should connect to this top part so that it's easier, and it does in this painter wheel, which is why it's just, for me anyway, it's much easier to use. And then lighter or darker if I want to go more saturated or less saturated. So that's how I pick colors or choose colors, and hoped it helped, and thanks for watching.